think my head got bigger. Too much brain power into nogginness.
Something like that.
It's the power. It's the problem.
Ow! You know when you said the good vibrations? I have this song going through my head now.
What the heck is going on here? Don't want you guys hearing my heart desires.
Your microphone.
What in the heck, bro?
I have this Beach Boys song going through my head because of what you said. Good, good, good. Good vibrations. And then they do the harmony.
Do the little...
They didn't do that, though. Back in the 60s.
They didn't do none of this?
None of that.
Isn't that where this move came out of, was the 60s?
I have no idea.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not big on dance theory.
Me either.
I just dance.
You just dance.
We've been dancing all this time. What a coincidence. I don't know where that's from.
I don't either.
Say too many things I probably should know where they're from before they come out of my mouth.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
It's me and him and us.
Us.
Together.
One more time with you.
One more time?
Yeah, one more time.
Another time?
Yeah, one more.
Okay, but you say one more time sounds like the end of something. Okay.
No. Anyway, I'm Pep Waples.
And I'm Gavin Waples.
And we are Shifting Culture
and Breaking Work.
The Spirit of the Lord says, do you feel the winds of change? For I am releasing my hand, my anointing, that shall break the yoke of woke.
One more time?
You said it, not me.
But it just means again.
Usually the connotation is
another
one more, as in the final one.
No.
That's the connotation.
No, it'd be one last time.
Okay, fair.
See?
But also saying one more time. You could say another time.
Whatever. English master.
Not a mather. I hated English when I was in school.
Did you really?
Yeah, but I was really good at it, and it sucked.
I know. Yeah, well, you're good at a lot of things, so not just English.
Well, thank you.
Well, you are.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
I have to start. I noticed this. I do some of these things, like I smile or whatever, and you make a noise.
Yeah.
And if they're not watching the video podcast, it's just long pause of awkward silence.
Long silence.
So I'm gonna have to start narrating any action I do, like subtitle it. Like,
but you wouldn't hear a subtitle.
Double thumbs up.
You'd have to say it.
Yeah,
for
but
the
I'd
ones
have to
who aren't
audio
watching it.
subtitle my imagery, which is so weird to think about.
Yeah. So we got to start out with giving our shout out.
Yeah. My buddy Logan Phelan, my dude. This episode is dedicated to you because you're the whole reason we're making it. So
yeah, and it's funny because can't even say that we actually really thought of it.
No, we didn't.
Other than maybe a day before you told me what Logan said, I thought I had this idea about masculinity.
Yeah,
it was just a crossing thought, but then tell me what Logan said.
Yeah, he just texted me out of the blue. We were talking about the podcast, and he's like, was there any episodes about like masculinity? And I'm like,
and toxic
yeah, and versus toxic masculinity was specifically what it was. And it was like, and I got to thinking, I'm like, oh, I'm sure we must have doing it, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, I've titled all these. I don't remember titling anything like that. And I just went and scrolled past every episode, and we've never done a dedicated episode to masculinity. So Logan, this one's for you, bud.
Yeah, and it's
for everybody, but thank you you can thank Logan.
And ladies, don't tune out.
Yeah, because
there will be some insight into some things. I think that'll be very helpful because talking about masculinity, especially masculinity versus toxic masculinity,
and even masculinity versus femininity.
Exactly. See, this is a big thing in the society because Ishtar feminizes men of society, right? Well, when you think of feminine,
but also masculinizes females,
right? But so there's more to this feminization versus masculinity, like on the feminizing of men and
masculinizing
women, it's not everything you think. We think if a woman is masculine, that she's butch, right? And we think if a man is feminized, that it's dresses and makeup or something,
right?
But it's a lot. There's more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
That spirit is so subtle. It's not just, to feminize a man. I'll just throw this out here because this is something that it bugged me for a long time whenever I saw it. Still bugs me when I see pictures of it on the internet, where you have a man wearing matching pajamas with his wife and having a photo shoot.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, he's with a woman, right?
Right.
So he's not the guy in the dress, but to wear matching pajamas and have a photo shoot over it? Okay, that's, agree with me or not, that is the feminization of a man.
Right, because it's what this is probably going to stir some feathers, because this is not one of the more obvious glaring things that people look at.
Right.
But it always kind of has bothered me too, the look of it, and I would never have said, hey, that's wrong. But looking at it more closely, why does it even happen? I guarantee you it's never the guy's idea.
Right.
Right, first of all, it's always the female's idea. And it's made, and why would a man have a problem with it? Well, it's demasculating. It's emasculating.
Emasculating.
Because it's taking what is meant to be the strong figure,
right,
and bringing it down to something that is childlike or soft.
Right.
And that's what the whole matching pajama look does. And
right.
And to a woman it's cute, right? It's like, hey, we're all a family, we're all doing this fun little thing, ha ha ha. But for the man, it is completely humiliating. Even not on a, maybe not everybody has that conscious thought, but the reason that someone like a man would be hesitant for that,
right,
or the reason we should be hesitant for that, is because it promotes an image of a man that is soft and weak, right?
Yes.
And you may say, oh, that's ridiculous.
It's funny, we just dove right into this.
I know we went,
but it's okay, because I can hear ladies out there right now, oh my gosh, you're just getting a little too blah blah blah. Stop and take a look at this for a minute.
Right.
Really, we're going to look at some men in the Bible. Now, we're not going to this is probably going to end up at least 3 parts, maybe more.
Yeah. And the whole episode or series of episodes is not just going to be about pajamas. So
it's not.
Tight.
It's not. We're, because you want to see what these men looked like in the Bible, right? What they did, what their characteristics. Now, some of them weren't good. Some of their characteristics, these are still men of God that made mistakes. Mm-hmm. And we'll even talk about that a little bit for some of you guys. But don't tune out, because there's a lot in this that we need to unpack. I mean, I was doing some study on this. I'm like, whoa, there's a ton in this. There's so much about, how a man should be. And some of it can be really overlooked if you're just barely skimming the surface on the scripture. You just look at it, oh, man, it's just there. So this whole feminizing of a man, the pajama thing, it's making a man look weak when he's supposed to be the strong leader of the family. It makes him look weak and soft.
Right. And there's other, like, if you want to do a family picture, it doesn't have to be a pajama
exactly.
picture.
Well, or we could say this, let's just say, for me personally, I wouldn't mind a picture like that if Brandy had this idea. Now, Brandy would never have that idea.
I know.
But if something like that she wanted to do, but here would be my stipulation: that picture does not go anywhere on the internet.
Right, it's not to be shared.
It's not to be shared. That's our home thing. That's between us. You can put that picture on your mantle at home.
Right, because that's the other thing. If it's truly meant to make you have a fun moment as a family, why does it have to be shared with the rest of the world?
Exactly.
Right. That's the contradiction there. Well, a contradiction there.
There was a video. I don't know if I have not watched this movie. I might go watch it now just to see what it's about. But the movie 300, have you heard of it?
I started watching it, yeah, but I couldn't finish it. There was a lot of nastiness in it.
Well, then I won't go watch it. I'll just stick to the clip. But the clip that I saw, there was a clip where the king...
Yeah, the king of Sparta.
Yeah. The king of Sparta was talking with a messenger from an enemy. From Persia. Okay, I don't even know the story. I don't know what it's about.
This scene is in the first 10 minutes, so I have seen this part.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So the guy is standing in front of a well. It must be really deep or something. Mm-hmm. And you can tell this guy has a really cocky attitude toward the king of Persia. And here he is. He's the messenger. But he has this attitude
superiority.
of superiority. And you can see the king, he begins to have a discussion, and the servant says, you better choose your next words wisely. Well, if he's just the messenger, what are you doing talking to a king that way? Mm-hmm. He's just supposed to deliver the message and that's it. But here he is. He's cocky enough to say, you better choose your next words wisely. And so he turns around, he thinks for a minute, and then they have a discourse, a conversation, and you could see he wanted to kill this guy.
But, okay, well, even beyond that, okay, this is a really important scene, actually. Because I believe this is the scene you're thinking of. Before what you're going to say happens.
Yeah.
And the framing of the scene is really cool, and I appreciate it as a cinematographer. Well, I shouldn't say that, but someone who appreciates film that way. The way it's framed, when he turns away from this Persian guy, and he first looks at his wife, he then looks at his people, and then he looks at the land, and then he looks back at this Persian king. So what you don't see, or what if you're a man you'll see, is the disrespect coming from a messenger of Persia.
Who's below him, by the way.
Right.
He's only supposed to be a messenger. And he's supposed to deliver words of a king. He's not supposed to say what he said to a king.
Right. And he's addressing the king of Sparta.
Right.
And Sparta is meant to be a very, aggressive, masculine nation, right?
Right.
So this messenger is attempting to subjugate the king of Sparta with his words. And he looks around, and by extension, not just the king of Sparta, but all of
the
Sparta.
people,
right?
His wife, everyone.
And that's where
the queen.
You see in the framing, he looks at his wife, he looks at the people, and then he looks at the land, because he's reflecting on the fact that he's not just having to respond for himself here, he's having to respond to all of those people, his wife, his people, and his land.
Yep. And that is a really good picture of a man in general.
Right.
The view of a man and masculinity covers so much more than just the individual. Mm-hmm. So masculinity is about preservation, connection to family, but preservation of society, preservation of what the man is in charge of. There's so much more to it. I've only mentioned a few, but so anyway, what he does then, when you talk about the scenario, he turns and he examines all this, but here's the response of his wife. She looks at him, and she knows that he's in a position he wants to make a decision, and he looks at his wife, and she had an opportunity to either throw him fear or get behind him. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, she looks at him and she nods at him. Mm-hmm. She just nods at him.
Oh yeah, so I have that backwards. He looked at the land, then his people, then his wife,
yes.
in order of importance.
Yes. So then, so he looks at her and she nods at him, and he turns around and he addresses, and he didn't he stab the guy? He just kicked him, right?
Yeah. He goes, "This is Sparta!" And then he kicks him and knocks him into this bottomless pit.
Yes.
This messenger to the highest king in the land, basically.
Right. And so it spoke so many things in that moment, because
in those three words.
Well, not only that, the wife, when she looked at him, she knew she was setting him free to be the man that he was called to be.
Right.
And she had a moment there where she could have emasculated him in front of an entire nation.
Right.
This is what happens in our society right now. When a woman, and this is why the pajama thing is such a big deal, because there is a man in your husband or fiance or boyfriend or whatever. There is a man there that if you will turn him loose, he will lift you up as an individual and a nation. And it might scare you to think of a man like that. But every man has that in them. Mm-hmm. And it's that idea of coming against such, disdain that's coming at not just the man, but the people he represents.
Right.
And that's what I think, especially women in society now, they don't get that picture. There's more behind this masculinity that we are to carry, because we are concerned about the people. We are concerned about the land. We are concerned about the queen, our wife, and we have to respond in certain ways. Otherwise, we're looked at by the enemy as weak. And that's what's happening on a spiritual level too. There are so many things right now that men could do differently, that the enemy of our souls, Satan, and his cohorts can look at us and know, hey, we can get away with certain things.
Right. Yeah. And this goes beyond just a biological or a social role thing. This is a spiritual law that's been in place since the beginning. And I'm turned to Genesis here because I want to throw something out there for you guys to think about. Let me see here. Sorry, I just thought of it now, so I'm making sure I have the right place. This is after God has created all of creation, and he's placing man in the garden. Yeah, and he this is after he removes the rib from Adam,
yep,
and creates woman, right? So the differences between men and women become clear here. Mm-hmm. And this is what he says. Then the rib which the Lord had taken from man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And Adam said, now this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. Now be joined to his wife, and shall become one flesh. That's not the exact part I was thinking of.
What's the thought you're gonna speak out?
I forget where the scripture was. That I thought it was there, but basically, where the man was given authority in the earth. Oh, that was before this. So in chapter 2, verse 15, it says, then the Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend it and keep it. And the Lord gave the commandment to the man, saying, every tree of the garden you may eat freely, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. It is not good that man shall be alone. I will make a helper comparable to him. Out of the ground the Lord formed every beast of the field, every bird of the air, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called each living creature, that was its name. So blah, blah, blah. And there was not found a helper comparable. And that's when, he creates Eve, right? Mm-hmm. So man was first given a responsibility,
right,
to tend and to keep the garden, or right, in this case, the created world that mm-hmm. God has given him. So God has given to man, the creature of man, authority over the earth and over things in the earth.
And not just authority, a responsibility.
Right, a responsibility.
And that is ingrained in every male born into the earth. There is a responsibility that we will carry. So there I'm going to mention this book really quick. It's probably it's not okay. The book helped me and helped even another guy that I knew, and it's a book called Wild at Heart. I don't agree with all the theology of the person that wrote it. They have anyway. I just don't. But the book itself, I think, brings out some really key things about men. In fact, there was a man that I knew that when he read it, he gave it to his mom, and his mom called him crying. Now, this man was a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and after his mom read it, she said, "If I would have had this book when you were boys, you would be different men today." Because it showed her some things about how the makeup and character of a man. And he was a man's man. He was an Army guy. But even she said, you'd be different today if I would have known what this book had said.
Right. That's another important thing to mention about why women shouldn't just tune out this episode, or even thinking about masculinity in general. Because if you plan on raising kids at any point, you need to understand the male mind. And if you plan on getting married at any point, even forget kids, if you plan on being married at any point, or even interacting with the male species at any point, you got to understand masculinity.
Yeah, and you can't be one of those women who just goes, "Oh, men." Right. You can't do that. That's the same as cutting them off.
Right.
And
writing them off.
I'm talking about emasculating them. It's the same thing. Okay. It's the same thing, because there's zero respect and zero honor for the position that God made in this earth. Mm-hmm. And I understand, there are men who are, for lack of a better word, chauvinistic. they take their position and they look at women as a lower position.
Right. It's a prideful thing.
It's a prideful thing. They're wrong.
Right, of course.
They're wrong. God made a helpmate, someone comparable to him.
Right, and that's an important distinction there. Adam made the clarification, this is bone of my bone,
bone
and
of my
flesh
bone,
of my
flesh of my flesh. That puts them on the same level. Same level. He's still the leader, but they are on the same throne together.
Right. But again, the leadership came from God's distinction of man as the head of the home. Right? He said that this responsibility was given to Adam, and Eve came along as the helpmate comparable to him.
Right.
So they're on the same level, but the responsibility of the family falls on the man.
That's why when they ate, her husband was with her, nothing happened until he ate.
Right.
She'd already taken the first bite.
Right.
Then he ate. When he ate, that's when everything fell apart.
Right. Because it was Adam's duty to protect not only the land, but also his family and his woman.
Yeah. It's there. So there's so much more into this. This whole. I had this thought that I was going to share. I lost it, but hopefully it'll come back to me about this whole manhood thing. Anyway, we'll keep going here, but
I'm sure it'll come back.
It'll come back because I had it when you were talking about Adam and Eve, and I'm like, oh man, I got to share that too. But that's what you get for getting ahead in the conversation.
Oh well,
my fault. Anyway, so there's some things I want to look at too, even with Jesus. Because when it comes to being a man's man, Jesus was it.
Right.
If you want to look anywhere as far as how manhood should be, Jesus is it.
Jesus should be an example in all things.
In all things. Now, we can take out pieces of the different people in the Bible. We can see characteristics of God. Oh, that's what it was. Adam was made in the image and likeness of God, right?
Right.
So he had authority. Think about how God the Father is. The love for humanity was already in him, right? The love for humanity was in the Father.
Right, yeah, okay.
So he now carries that.
You mean Adam?
Adam, as in man, now carries that. So there is a love within a man, but it's going to look different than that of Eve.
Right.
Because she is the mother of all, right? So she'll have a different perspective on how to treat people. God, the Father, on the other hand, he had to deal with rebellion in heaven.
Right.
He had to deal with angels who were out to kill, steal, and destroy.
Right. And I think, again, that goes down to the primary role which God established at the beginning between male and female. Male is the father, because he said he gave 2 commandments to mankind, which was subdue the earth and fill it and multiply, basically. So those two commandments fall on mankind, and man and women specifically have their roles in that. Man as the father and women as the mother. So most societal roles will be not just societal roles, but and this may be. Look, I want to say this in such a way where it's palatable, but not saying that there are no exceptions to this rule, but the way things started from the ground up, the foundation of all roles for men and women start with that, father and mother. And it will be connected. Masculinity and femininity will be connected to those roles.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say, I guess. So
that's it. That's exactly it.
Okay.
So
just wanted to clarify our baseline there.
So here's something else to think about. What is in a man came from the Father.
Right.
And what the Father had to deal with. Now, this is where sometimes women can get, they get kind of scared in this moment, because think about what the Father had to do. He had to make a decision to kick out 1/3 of the angels out of heaven, right?
Right.
He also had to make the decision to kick out Adam and Eve after they had fallen.
Right. Of the garden.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so think about the angels now. They were cast to earth, and the Bible says that others were, Lucifer was cast to the earth, and other angels were cast into the pit and are in chains in darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems pretty harsh. If you're coming from, can't they change? Can't they? People always try to give this argument. And sometimes a man will have to make hard decisions as well that seem hard to maybe some people or even a woman. I'm not trying to pick on the women here, but
But the reason you say that is it is a feminine trait.
It is.
Doesn't mean it's only prominent in women.
Right.
It just means that that's where it is connected to, because the
it's
mother
more prominent.
Right, because the role of the mother is to heal.
Right.
And to grow.
And to care for.
Right.
So, but the need for the father, he's also caring too. What the father had to care about was the rest of heaven when he kicked out the angels. Because sin, he could not allow sin to take over heaven.
Right.
And it seemed harsh. What, don't you love the angels? He created them, he made them. And, well, didn't you love Adam and Eve? Why were they kicked out of the garden? I mean, couldn't you have come up with a better solution? See, there's always this, but the bottom line is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was in the garden, but so was the tree of life.
Right.
They would have lived forever in a sinful state.
Right.
If he allowed separated from God.
And all their children.
And all their children. It would have, so he had to kick them out of the garden because of
he
the
had
tree.
To separate them from that tree.
From that tree, which was eternal life. So that eternal living in a sin nature.
Right.
Now he went to work to correct that through the covenant of Jesus, with Jesus, covering and paying for the sin of man. But he had to make a hard decision. Men will have to make hard decisions. Right. And it's not always going to be agreeable to a woman.
Right.
Sometimes. The feminine person.
Right.
If the man has the heart of the Father, he will be caring for and concerned about others as well in the decisions that he makes.
Right. The decision, even though it is harsh, will never be selfish in true masculinity.
That's it, right there. It's masculinity. The decisions that you make should not be selfish as a man.
Right. Ever.
That's how you can identify this. You are to live your entire life for someone else.
Right. That's the responsibility. And that's what Jesus exemplified.
Yep.
Even though you're making very difficult decisions, they're always with other people in mind. And yourself is always the first one to lay down and die. Every time.
Every time.
Every time.
So now I want to examine some things with Jesus. Because we're looking at masculinity. So when I started looking at this, I thought, okay, Jesus has always been my example of masculinity. And I'll tell you where that started for me, because growing up, I was always taught, my dad was taught this, his dad was taught this, and then he taught me this. He says, men don't cry.
Right.
Men don't show emotions. And so growing up, I'd get in trouble as a kid for wanting to cry over a skinned knee or getting hurt. It was always, oh, toughen up. Toughen up. Suck it up. And my dad's a good man. But that was just the way we were raised. You had to be tough. There is being tough, but that doesn't mean you have to be unemotional either.
Right.
And what set me free is I was reading the scripture where Jesus' friend Lazarus had died. And the shortest scripture in the Bible says that Jesus wept.
Right.
And so I went and looked at that. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I was in Bible school when I saw it. Like, wait a minute. Jesus didn't say he had a tear running down his cheek. It says he wept. So I went and looked up the word wept. And it is literally like a sobbing. It is a heartfelt, wrenching cry.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, Jesus had emotion for it. I mean, not just a little tear. If you see a tough guy at a funeral, and he's got a tear coming down his cheek, he wipes it away real quick and he toughens up, and he wipes it away and he's fine.
Right.
Because I don't know why that's happening to me.
Yeah, cowboy up.
Cowboy up. That is not biblical. So there is that aspect too of being a man. Jesus is the ultimate example of a man that we can look at. Jesus wept.
But it's beyond just the act of it. There's causality and intent behind it, right? So just crying for the sake of crying, like in the sake of a skinned knee, right? Because you're in pain, because you're hurt over something that's going to go away, that is a problem. That
right, as a man.
Right, as a man.
Right.
Right, because Well, again,
I
this
skinned my knee.
I know.
Just the thought of it just hit me. This grown man falling down crying because he skinned his knee. Anyway, I'm still on the kid. I was trying to picture this as a kid. I'm like, wait a minute, you're a kid not crying? Okay. Anyway.
No. But that's where you teach your son, not to cry over everything that hurts.
Right.
Because as a man, as a full grown male, your role is to be the strong figure that doesn't cry over minor issues.
Right.
Where the feminine trait is to tend more on the emotional side of things. And it's not like they stay there, but even with my own wife, like she'll come home after a long day, and it's not because everything's so terrible, but she'll just vent to me about things that bothered her, things that she that hurt, that she's carrying throughout the day. And because I can sit there and I can take it and I don't cry, I don't sit there and cry with her, she's able to move on about her day. But it's my job as a man not only to just hear that, but then not to take it and be hurt myself. You know what I mean? Because you have to build a tough skin there. But when it comes to things like that, large, death is a huge one, right? You're also supposed to be the example in that respect too. Because if you are unfeeling to death, you are no longer just a man, you are a monster. Right. Because if your son looks at you and they see you're unfeeling towards death, they will think nothing of death. Right. They will become reckless, they will become dangerous, not only to themselves but to other people and to everyone around them.
I've had to talk with people that have had to deal with death, soldiers, and it's very difficult. The ones that I talk to, it's very difficult for them to deal with that. To me, that's a good sign. It shows that there's still humanity with them. However, as a soldier, they had to do a duty, and that is something that they struggled with. They did their duty, but now someone died because of it. And so they really struggled with this balance. What do I do? To the point where I've been told stories of different soldiers that they committed suicide after coming home. Or anyway, suicide was their answer out. Because they couldn't balance. You have this teaching of you're always supposed to be tough, but yet I still feel humanity for the person that was on the other end of my gun. Right. And so they didn't know that, okay, it's okay for me to feel remorse. Even though I was within duty, I was within what I was supposed to do. I wasn't out of line or breaking the law when that person's life was lost. It's okay to still feel humanity and sorrow, not remorse, sorrow.
There you go.
That's where their conflict was. They were feeling, they felt sorrow, and it was read as remorse, but yet I did my duty. Right. There was, so as a man,
they didn't regret their decision, but they felt the weight of it.
The weight of it, yes. So there is that as a man, we have responsibility to carry out duty. Right.
For the sake of the good of the whole.
For the sake of the good of the whole. Because I know there's some people going to be listening to this that have been through some things. Right. That way. And I don't know if I haven't been able to talk to all of them about that. There's a place, I'm going to read this. I'll just read it. Because John the Baptist was preaching, I think it was in Luke.
Before you move on to there, I want to boil that down to even a micro, or a smaller issue. Okay. Because it's easy to see that in a soldier type mentality where you have to fulfill your duty, right, in order to, for the betterment of the good, right? A soldier lays down his life and he has to see things that other people shouldn't have to see, right? So that they don't have to see it. Right, but even boiled down to a much smaller scale, there are going to be things as a man that you need to do in order to make sure your family is still okay. Right. There's, say, a deal in business you'll have to cut out. Say, you'll have to not serve a certain client because it will ruin your business. Right. And you can still feel humanity for the people behind that client, but in order for the betterment of the whole, you have to be able to make, like we said, those tough decisions. And it's not it should never be out of a selfish ambition. It should never be because you want to grow yourself first. any decision you make as a man needs to be protective of someone behind you.
Right.
That's how Jesus did.
Here's a good example of that too is, a man that has to put a dog down because the dog bit a child.
Right. That's a good one.
A man can still feel for the dog, but because I love our dog.
Right.
But if our dog ever bit a child out of complete anger, now there's a difference between, okay, the child's taking its food. I get there's mistakes, there's grace even there. But if my dog ever bit a child out of aggression because it thought it could get away with it, that dog would have to die.
Right.
And that sounds harsh to some women, because, well, we can take care of the kid and take care of no, the dog crossed the line.
Right.
And as much as I loved that dog up to that point, it's time for that dog to end.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know when he will do it again.
Right.
You can't take a chance for any child, your own or others or anybody coming forward. And that's a hard decision sometimes for people to make. Now, I've seen men get mad and really get aggressive with a dog, but it just has to be a decision. You put the collar on the dog and you take the dog away and business is done. Mm-hmm. It's not you grab them, throw them down and da-da-da. That's just the savage coming out, and you can't allow that either. But there has to be a decision made where the betterment of my family, that dog has to go.
Right. That's where, and this is a tendency that is masculine versus the feminine. The masculine tendency is to focus on macro issues, and that is healthy. Mm-hmm. That is what God's design is, and by macro I mean the larger scale,
the bigger
issues,
picture,
right? The bigger picture, yes. And the feminine trend or characteristic is more to focus on the micro issues. That's where you take the example of kicking Adam and Eve out of the garden, right? The macro issue is if they stayed in the garden, they could eat of the tree of life and they would be separate from God forever.
Right.
The micro issue where you could get very angry, like you could say mad at God, is say, why did you take Adam and Eve away from your presence? Uh-huh. Right? But in reality, it was a mercy.
Right.
It was a mercy for them not to be, because if they would have stayed there, if they would have stayed in, you could say, the presence of God temporarily, they would have been separated eternally. Mm-hmm. That's the big picture.
Yes.
That is the masculine side of God's nature.
Seeing the big picture like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's not to say to ignore the small picture, because that's where you bring the humanity into the picture.
Right.
But the masculinity has to act on the big picture and accounting the smaller picture, because the smaller picture is what's behind you. It's what you're protecting. Right. That's why a soldier can go to war and do terrible things in protection of his family back home.
So here's something, I had this thought. I had these notes I was going to go to, but I'm just going to skip it. We'll get to them if we get to them. But I had this other thought come to me about a video I saw, and it was very telling. The lady saw her husband sitting there looking at this. Used to be a roll of wire.
Yeah,
I think it was wire.
Yeah, like
twine or something. I can't remember what it was, but he's sitting down. He's a bigger guy. He's got a beard.
It was wire. Mm-hmm.
Was it wire? He's sitting there, and he's just looking at this thing.
At the empty spool.
The empty spool. And he's completely lost in thought. And all of a sudden, here's this wife comes up with her phone. She goes, "What are you thinking about?" And she looks at him, or he looks at her. He goes, I was just sitting here thinking about this spool, and I'm probably going to have it all wrong. There was a place that he'd gone to in his thought pattern that was very important to him and deep to him.
Yeah, deep is a good word.
Deep. He was thinking about how many hours he spent, and he was relating his life to this spool, and the spool had come to an end. Mm-hmm. And he was examining his life, and she goes, "It's just a spool."
Right. That's a macro versus micro thing.
Well, and the thing is, she shut him off right there. He shut down. He goes, "Never mind." Mm-hmm. She had a moment to connect with this man and see what he meant by what he saw. He could share what he saw. And what she did was, she didn't perform what Eve's job was supposed to do. Eve, if you think about this, Eve was the rib. She was taken, and the rib is right here under the it protects the most sensitive part of the man, which is his heart.
Right.
And
it's a supportive structure.
Supportive structure and protective. So he doesn't need protection out here.
Right.
His own hands can protect his face, his body, his legs.
The arms even protect the ribs.
Yes. So, but he can protect himself. Most men, have a general sense, or at least a desire of wanting to shield and protect their own. They have an ability within them to be able to be aggressive.
Right.
The job of the woman is to guard the things that are hidden in the heart of the man.
Yeah, that's really good.
And what she didn't do is she made light. What she did do is she made light of something that was turning on the inside of him, and instead of protecting him, she actually poked his heart. Mm-hmm. And so he shut down.
And exposed her.
And exposed him at the same time with the cell phone.
Right.
And that was so damaging to a relationship between a husband and wife, because they're supposed to be one.
Right.
Originally in the Bible, they were called Adam. They weren't called Adam and Eve. They were just Adam. That's it. She came from him. She was bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. They were Adam.
Right. That's where the separation for man and woman came from.
Right. That it was just gender, but they were both called Adam. Mm-hmm. That's why in a covenant marriage, the woman takes on the last name of the man generally, because they become one.
Right.
Right? They're no longer, like Brandy and I, it's no longer Phelan and Waples. It's Waples. Mm-hmm. We're together,
right.
And so what she did is she did not protect the heart of the man. And the reason I'm going down this road is I feel like there's, guys that might be listening right now, especially young guys. I've seen it all the time. They'll cuddle up to a young girl, and that might be the wrong word, but they get close to a young girl and they want to do anything to keep her attention.
Yeah.
They want to do anything to I just gotta have her. I just gotta have her near me, and I just gotta have her. And they're trying to, win this woman because she's pretty. But what you should be doing is she a candidate to guard your heart?
Yeah.
It's not about how pretty she is,
or even how nice she is,
It's will she guard your heart?
Yeah.
Will she protect those things that are inwardly important to you? Will she be alert enough to see when you're examining the spool, there's more to that than just a spool?
Right.
Brandy does that. My wife, she'll hear me say something, just spit it out of frustration or whatever, and she'll sit there. Just pause, waiting to see if I say something else. Then if I say something else, then she'll listen. Because she's listening for the heart issue.
Right.
She's listening for what's going on inside. What's really the bottom line of this? She's really good at this. Mm-hmm. And then she'll say, well, I can see that.
Right.
Or she may not say anything at all. She'll just put her arm around me because there's nothing she can do to change it.
That is another important role of the feminine, because if you take a group of men, like this is memed about by now. They'll never talk about their feelings.
Yeah, it's a bad thing in society, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of men who are separated because of this separation of this so-called thing called toxic masculinity.
Right, but that's where it comes from. Okay, this is what I want to make a distinction here. This is why the feminine is so important. Mm-hmm. Because when you do that, when you demonize masculinity mm-hmm. like that, where and then these men group together, that's all they know, right? They're only together with men. That's where it becomes toxic and stagnant.
That's where, yep.
It's a men-only trait where you bring in the feminine as something to be desired, as something to be respected, revered, and honored. A man will go from a savage to a man.
Right.
And when the feminine removes herself by saying, I don't like that you're this way because it's toxic, when that forces him to make a decision, either to go over here with where only the men are and stagnate himself, become toxic, or in order to get with that person's good graces, to feminize himself.
Yes, he has to diminish himself.
Right.
And that's why I said what I said is, some of you guys, you're wanting to get in the good graces of some of these women, and you know what you should do is you need to separate from them.
Right. That's not to say to separate from women.
Right.
Because we have seen men leave the dating scene in over these last few years, and that is unhealthy. It's caused by this woman that says that's toxic masculinity, but the truth is, true masculinity holds in his God-given masculine urges, but seeks out the godly feminine over here.
So let's look at I'm going to give you an example here of, say, maybe I wouldn't say it's a godly feminine, but it's a feminine, and she responded correctly to Jesus. And this is a masculine moment that Jesus said something, and proper femininity responded. Now, it is, well, there's two accounts of it, same scenario, but it's Matthew 15, verse 21 through 28, and then Mark 7, verses 24 through 30. And it's the woman who came to him. She was a Gentile, and she came to him with a problem that her daughter was demon-possessed. In fact, I want to go read it out of Mark 7. Because his response, I think, is exactly what we're talking about. Masculinity, if you want to know where a woman stands, I think you need to approach some women in the dating scene just like this. Just like what Jesus said. Because you might have a woman who's caught up in this woke mentality about how relationships between men and women should be. And if you confront it in this way, she'll have a choice to either submit to the Word of God and change, or you'll find out how deep this stuff is in her, and she is not the right person to protect you. So you can date, and you'll find people just like this.
All right. A question like this will distinguish between a toxic femininity woman or a godly femininity woman.
Right. So
present that.
So Matthew 7:24 says, "From here they arose and went to the region of Tyre and Sidon, and he entered a house and wanted no one to know it. But he,
I'm glad you said this, because I have something I'm going to tie it to.
Okay.
So take that out.
It says, but he could not be hidden. For a woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit heard about him, and she came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by birth, and she kept asking, that's so woman right there. It says, and she kept asking him to cast the demon out of her daughter. So she was bugging him. She was, come on, would you please would you please cast this? Would you? She keeps asking him. And it's funny because he clearly wanted to be left alone. He tried to find a place that was of solitude, and this woman finds it. Now here she is, and she keeps bugging him about this. And it says, but Jesus said to her, let the children be filled first, for it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. And she answered and said to him, yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs under the table eat from the children's crumbs. And he said to her, for this saying, go your way, the demon has gone out of your daughter. It was her faith that got it. But here is her response. She acknowledged the truth. So he was also speaking truth. Right. Because if you look at in John chapter 1, it says that he came to his own, right? And it means his own region and his own people.
Right, the Jews of Israel.
He came to the Jews. So he came to the region of Israel, and he came to the Jews. He was to bring the message of the kingdom to them first. That was his job, and he was sticking to it.
Right.
So as a guy, you've got to be principled. That was one of the things that I saw in here, is that Jesus was principled. He stuck to what he was supposed to do, even when this woman with a need was demanding, come on. In fact, I'm just going to go as far as saying this. When you've got a girl, as a Christian guy, if you've got a girl who's pressuring you to go further than you're supposed to, you better stay principled in the Word.
Right. And address it.
Address it. Because that's what Jesus did.
Yeah,
and then you'll find out
with truth.
Address it with truth.
But address it with truth. Right.
Exactly. Anyway, so that's what he did. He addressed this with truth. And her response to truth then gained his favor.
Right.
Her response to truth was, that's exactly right. But you know what? Even the dogs eat get some of the good stuff. And so that relationship there, the fact that he confronted her with truth and her response to truth was positive, now that created both, it showed the masculinity of Jesus, because he walked in love wherever he went. But he was principled enough to know who was outside of his jurisdiction and realm of influence.
Right, realm of influence.
But when she came inside of it and demanded attention, he didn't just give it to her. He waited. Otherwise,
but her faith, notice it said her faith is what brought her in.
Yes.
It was what gave her permission, basically.
There was her heart in that. See, it was her faith. She wasn't just out demanding something. Now, she wanted something, but her heart was, yes, Lord. There was honor. She honored him.
Yeah.
So she gave him honor, even though she knew she was...
Even after being told she was wrong.
Yes, and he was out of her league, so to speak.
Right.
So she came in, and the way he answered, truth prevailed, and she was able to be blessed out of that.
But I think this is even an important detail, is he was by himself when he addressed her that way. He didn't do this publicly for her. Now, because notice he was trying to be alone, and she came in from there, right? So he was unsuccessful only because she found her. So other than her, he was alone. Maybe with the disciples, but he was in private,
right.
You could say.
He was in private, yep.
He didn't accuse her publicly of her being a dog necessarily, but he gave her truth. Now contrast this with the example of the Pharisees bringing him a woman caught in the act of adultery.
Yes.
This is really important, because this woman was clearly and evidently wrong.
Right.
But then these men, who you could say were toxically masculine, hiding behind their principles, so to speak, but their twisted perversion of it, they bring this woman before Jesus to test him. Not even because of her, but to test him in his masculinity, in his principle.
Isn't that just like a sick man who will take someone's weak moment for their own self-gratification?
Yeah, and that's an important contrast here between their weak masculinity and his true masculinity, because what he first does is he ignores them. He sees the woman and he ignores their cries. They say, Moses says we should stone her, but what do you say we should do? And his first thing is to ignore these people, because he considers their opinion of naught. Basically,
right.
He looks at them and he knows that they are coming from a place of untruth. And the first thing as a man that you need to respond to with untruth is to consider it of no effect, because the truth always prevails over untruth. So you have to hold in that. So that's the first thing he does, is he ignores them. And while he's doing that, it says he's writing in the dirt. He's listening for the input from God, how to respond to these people. He doesn't just react, even though they're prodding him. And they are public about it. He doesn't just react. He stoops in the dirt and he listens for God's voice. And finally he says, let he who is without sin among you cast the first stone. So then he turns it on them. He turns their own principle on them, you could say. And one by one they leave. He protects this woman.
Right.
This woman who was wrong, but she was weak and she was being extorted by these men for their own selfish ambition.
And that's the thing. I think she was trapped to begin with. I think otherwise, where's the man?
Well, regardless, she was trapped, right? So,
yeah, but what I mean is that I think they set her up.
Right. But Jesus here protected the weak person from someone trying to extort them. And then even after that, when they're all gone, when it's just him and her, he looks at her and says, I don't accuse you, but sin no more.
Right.
So he still delivers truth, but not in front of the entire world.
Right. Love covers a multitude of sins.
Exactly.
And that's what a man of God will do. He will cover.
Yes.
As well. Cover and protect. So, let me read this out of Matthew from that one we just read about the woman. It says, and behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. So here we see what the conversation actually was. She must have kept saying that. Have mercy on me, my daughter's possessed. Have mercy on me, my daughter's possessed.
Yeah.
So from that other scripture in Mark, we can tell that this must have went on.
Right.
It says, but he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she cries out after us." So the whole crowd didn't even like her. It says, but he answered and said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then she came and worshipped him, saying, "Lord, help me." But he answered and said, "It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." And she said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table." And Jesus answered and said to her, O woman, which is a respectful statement.
Right.
O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire. So he stayed principled.
Mm-hmm.
And in that principled moment, he was able to see the heart of this woman. And then at the end, it says, woman. It was a term of respect given to a Canaanite woman. And
right,
anyway,
he didn't consider her less than.
He didn't consider her less than.
Right, because of her faith, though, which is interesting.
Yeah, well, and he didn't consider her less than. He knew what he was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
He was called to the nation of Israel.
Right. And he wasn't initially going to just give that up.
Wasn't just going to give that up.
That's good.
It took the Holy Spirit to move him towards that, which was one of the notes I had in here when it comes to Jesus being the ultimate man of God. The number one thing is, as a man of God, Jesus, John 1:29, it says he was a man who pursued the plan of God for his life. This is probably the most masculine trait you can have.
Yeah.
Above all, that's where everything else will grow out of that. And you see in Jesus, when he was little, says he was found in the temple. At 12 years old, he was found in the temple. So masculinity started for him then. Mm-hmm. And he grew into it as a man. And then what he did was in John chapter 1 verse 29, he stepped in and got baptized by John. So the very first thing he did, his masculine trait, is to pursue the plan of God for his life. Mm-hmm. True masculinity will chase God.
Right. I think this is important, and we're probably going to have to finish up here, but I had a thought about this, and this is a perfect way to explain it, because you're chasing after God because you are under the authority of God. And true masculinity, even from the beginning of the days of Adam, was under the authority of God. And the reason you have responsibility is because it's not just a responsibility for yourself. You're responsible for the people you're protecting under God and his authority. Mm-hmm. And even the Roman centurion recognized authority.
Yes.
And Jesus is the faith of God, or his faith and his recognition of authority allowed him to receive the blessing. And even the people that he was protecting, because he didn't even ask for himself. He asked for his servant, and he said, I recognize your authority, Lord, and if you say it, it will be done. And because of his faith, because of his submission, and his willingness to lay down his pride, because that's the first thing a man has to kill, is his pride. Pride is your own selfish desires and ambitions. When you lay that down and you submit yourself under the authority of someone else, namely God and Jesus' authority, then the blessing will flow for you and the people that you're under, and the people under you.
That's good.
That's masculinity.
I'm telling you, there's so much to unpack in this.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be on this a while, guys. Because there was so much. I had read one thing out of my notes here that tied into this conversation. And it's at the end here that I just said, true masculinity is a man who will pursue God. Mm-hmm. That's where true masculinity really starts.
Yep.
There's more in this.
It's funny that we're getting to the start of masculinity by the end of the first episode.
By the end, I know, just starting it. But I'm telling you, this is going to be needed because there's some things I wanted to hit on and I didn't get to hit a lot of it. But one of the things I did want to address, because I know there's some young men and even, I don't know who all listens to this program, but there's guys that you chase a relationship with women because you think you want that relationship. And what you have to understand is that she's not the rib that's going to guard your heart. If she hasn't guarded your heart to this point, she's not going to. Mm-hmm. And if you'll chase God, he will bring you to your rib, if you will.
Yeah.
Because Adam was in a deep sleep, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's indicative of someone who's just he's not indicative. When someone pursues the plan of God, you won't notice anything else.
That's really good. Yeah. You're asleep to everything else.
You're asleep to everything else. That's what I was trying to get. You'll be asleep to everything else. Then what happened is God opened his eyes and he sees this woman.
Yeah.
And he said,
God placed there.
And he said, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh.
That's really good. Yeah.
If you will chase God, you will be asleep to everything else. And when the moment is right, then he will open your eyes to the one who is supposed to be with you.
Wow, that's good.
You've got to chase him though. I think that's where so many people in society, they're chasing
tail.
Yeah, chasing tail. I mean, that's for you ladies. Sorry, we said it that way, but that's just the fact. That's not masculinity. That's just animal.
Yeah, that is really true.
It is. It's just the lowest nature.
Do anything that moves.
Right. It's just the lowest nature. You've got to tap into your relationship with God and pursue that. When you pursue that, and you fall asleep to everything else won't matter. God will bring this right person to your doorstep, so to speak. And when you'll know it's right, you won't even have to go through the hard questions, really.
Yeah.
Because you'll see this person for who they really are. You know, I'm going to say this about Amanda. I just love her so much, you know, because she married into this family. But I tell you what, every time she opens her mouth, she gives away her heart. To me, at home,
Yeah, not in public.
Not in public. But I see more of her heart, and I am so grateful for a woman of God in your life.
Yeah.
Because I see this woman who will protect your heart. She does contemplate things like Mary pondered things in her heart. Amanda does that a lot.
Yeah, she does.
And so before she answers, she has something that she's already pondered. She'll be that woman who will protect your heart and be there. She's the bone of your bone and flesh of your flesh. It's amazing to see, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful to see what God has done, and it's because you guys pursued God, both of you.
That two things to note there, which I think is interesting. You say, it's bone of your bone and flesh of your flesh, because on the meat of things, on the important things, you will be the same.
Yes.
You will have the same callings. You will have not necessarily the same personality, but you will have complementary personalities, right? O blood type won't always look like a black person and a white person can both have O blood type, right? So on the core important things, you should be the same. Now, this is a little side tangent here, but if you disagree on especially religion, but major political problems as well, social moral problems, how to raise kids, things like that. If you disagree on those points, she is not bone of your bone and not flesh of your flesh.
That's right.
And you have to let her go.
And I know that sounds hard, but it'll save your life.
It will, because she will not protect you.
There are so many men out there right now who are dissatisfied with their marriage because they compromised in one of those areas. If you do that, it will cost you your life, and I don't mean like breath.
Right.
I mean the life, the fullness that God had for you. You won't get it, and that's what I mean by it will cost you your life. It'll cost you the life that God has laid out for you that's in its fullness, and you won't get that.
And let's be clear, I'm talking about men that are seeking a woman right now.
Right.
If you're already married,
you got her.
Yeah, you got her, and it's your responsibility to lay yourself down and to make sure that it's the betterment of the family, not just yourself.
Right.
But then even beyond that, before bone of your bone and flesh of your flesh, you notice when Adam found his wife. It is immediately following the scripture that God says Adam was doing his responsibility. He was naming the animals of the garden.
Yep.
Adam was in his place of authority and doing the work that God assigned for him to do. And then God said, it is not good that he should be alone. Let me find him a helper.
Yeah.
So you will never find a woman I shouldn't say you'll never find her outside your work field, but I will say this. If you're not doing what God has for you to do, then you won't find the one that God has for you.
Yeah, you have to be pursuing a relationship with him.
Right.
Number
Just
one,
like you said.
first. Yes. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, we got more to talk about.
Clearly, this is going to be way more than
longer.
one episode, clearly. So we'll keep going next time.
Yep. Goodbye.
See ya. Hey, everybody. If you like this podcast, remember to share it with someone. We have new episodes every other Wednesday at 2 p.m. If you'd like to help us spread the message even further, go to rootedministries.us and click the donate button. The gospel is free, but it takes money to get it out.